Good evening. Welcome to Federal Hill for the concert tonight. I'd like to bring everybody's attention to a celebration and very special unveiling. Noblesville has been selected as the Hamilton County home for the Charters of Freedom Monument. My name is Brandon Bennett, and I'm blessed to be the Director of Parks and Recreation here in Noblesville. When Mayor Ditzler was approached about this project, he quickly decided that the home for this great monument needed to be Federal Hill Commons. It has been Mayor Ditzler's passion for this project that moved it forward and leads us to where we are tonight, celebrating our great country with the constant reminder of our freedoms bestowed upon us by our forefathers. Tonight you will hear about the project, you will hear from the foundation founders, a private not-for-profit organization, their vision, and finally the dedication and unveiling of the monument. But before we move on to the program, we need to thank some very important people that made this project happen. I would like to ask Don Myers with Myers Construction to stand. Don right here, can't see him. Don was the general contractor on this project, and he pulled all the strings on making this come to fruition. He has donated all of his services to this project. He also asked for and got all the materials and labor donated from other suppliers, including Sagamore Ready Mix on the concrete. If anybody from Sagamore is here, if you would stand. I'd like to also ask Dave Burtner to stand of Burtner and Electric, as he donated all the electric supplies and installation. Mr. Burtner, thank you very much. Don also got all the brick donated by Indiana Brick and had Matt Smith with M&S Masonry supplied all the mortar, equipment, and labor to install the brick and the capstones and the limestone. Irving Materials donated the gravel, and Stonesmiths donated granite caps for the donor pedestals. Don took it upon himself to reach out to each of these trades to ask them to donate their services and supplies. Don, thank you very much from the bottom of our heart. We appreciate everything you've done for this project. And we'd like to thank each and every one of those donors that made this thing happen. We could really, truly could not have done it without you. And finally, I just want to recognize a few other people who made this happen along the way with some hard work and with the installation, including a team I'm very proud of, which is my parks maintenance team, several street department employees, city hall employees, and I would really like to point out Michelle Glodowski with the mayor's office, who was the glue in holding this whole thing together. You really don't know how much hard work that they put in to make things like this happen for our community. And finally, one last piece of housekeeping. Over here to my left, there is a location where you can sign your name, and that will go into this time capsule that Mr. Patterson will talk about here a little bit later. So make sure you sign in tonight right over here to get your name in that time capsule to be opened up in like 2087 or something like that. Now let's get to the program. I'd like to invite Pastor Terry Ditzler to come up to give the invocation.
Thanks, Brandon. It's good to give thanks, especially on a night and day like this. Let us pray. God of strength and freedom, we come to this place this day to give you thanks for the many ways you enter our world. Today we are reminded of your unending love for us and the ways you call us to love one another. We thank you for giving us founding mothers and fathers who have taught us how to do justice, love mercy, and to walk humbly with you. We thank you for the writers of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. We honor the timeless words that have stirred our love for country and her people. May they always ignite in us a passion for justice and freedom for all. May they be used as a template for the sanctity of all life. We honor all public servants of our past. We thank God for the people who serve now, making our nation safe and committed to peace. And we thank you, God, for the future generations who will serve to protect our nation's honor. May they be inspired by this monument in the years to come. Lord, we remember tonight the sacrifices of all armed forces, public safety employees, and their families. May we never forget the people who have given the ultimate sacrifice of their lives to protect our freedoms. Tonight, history meets future. May all those involved in this particular project know that their gift will be protected, utilized by generations, and will be valued as a city treasure. May the Charters of Freedom continue to bring education and community together for conversation and curiosity, igniting over and over the love of God and country. In God's strong name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Pastor Ditzler, we appreciate that. At this point, we'd like to ask everyone to stand to honor our country with the presentation of our colors presented by the Hamilton County Veterans Honor Guard. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing, remove your hats, and welcome Allie Boyce as she leads us in the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the ragged sprinkler, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave?
Wow. That wasn't part of the script, the wow part, but I've got chills, I'm not going to lie. Great job, Allie. Thank you so much. What a blessing. All right. Now, I'd like to invite the Daughters of the American Revolution to the podium to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening and thank you. Please join me as we pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, very much. We appreciate that. Now I'd like to welcome the man behind bringing the monument to Noblesville and our leader over the past 16 years, Mayor John Ditzler.
You want this or you want to put it right here? No, I can use it.
Thank you very much. Isn't it a great evening in Noblesville? I, first of all, would like to recognize and have all veterans please stand and wave your hand. Most of us are standing anyway, but if you're a veteran, wave your hand. Thank you, thank you. And also any and all first responders as well. We have several special guests here this evening, and I would like to recognize those who are here. First of all, on the county level, our Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Steve Dillinger, Commissioner Mark Harebrant, members of our City Council, Brian Ayer, Mark Boyce, the father of Allie, our national anthem singer, and Darren Peterson. Darren. We also have Steve Rogers on our park board and Jack Martin over here on our board of works. Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this evening. Someone said she doesn't really need introduction because she has served us so well. But I will take a stab at it. Our speaker is Congresswoman Susan Brooks, and she has in her fourth term representing us in the 5th District of Indiana, as well as, of course, the United States in Congress. She has done an outstanding job representing us, and we are very proud to have her here and thank her for her service to us. Congresswoman Brooks, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Noblesville. Can I hear you? All right. Walk through that awesome concert crowd. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here tonight to Noblesville and back home in Hamilton County. First, we need to thank all the local leaders and the mayor and all of those people that work so hard to bring the special these monuments here tonight. Can we give them one more round of applause? Because what you are about to enjoy, Noblesville, is incredibly special. Mayor Ditzler, while you're finishing your 4th term, and I'm finishing my 4th term, his has been a bit longer than mine, 16 years to my 8. But during that time that we have served together, I have seen his visionary leadership. I have seen him care deeply about the safety of this community. I've seen him care deeply about the economic development and bringing new businesses and people to Noblesville. And most importantly, as a veteran himself, I've seen him care deeply about the veterans of this community. And so I want to thank you, Mayor Ditzler, for your leadership. We're going to miss you, although you're not moving or anything, but it's been awesome to have your leadership here and your patriotic leadership here. And I think but for his patriotic leadership, we would not have the Charters of Freedom here tonight. And that's what brings us here tonight. You're here on Federal Hill Commons. Now, as you might know, before Federal Hill Commons broke ground, there was a name, there was a naming competition. And in case you didn't know, the people who came up with this name, it's named after Federal Hills School that was built in 1917, which still stands today. And this ground, this very, what I would say is hallowed ground, has been used not only for incredible music festivals and this incredible amphitheater, come together for the farmers market, but we also have come together when tragedy has struck our community. And yes, I and many of you were here when tragedy struck Noblesville. But this is a very important gathering center, and I think it's so perfect that the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, the three most important documents in American history, are going to be here. The Charters of Freedom established that as Americans, so importantly, we have certain unalienable rights. That among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Never forget that. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These three documents are the heart of our country. They're the heart of our democracy. Whether federal, state, or local government, and let me tell you, democracy is messy. I just came home from Washington, D.C. Democracy is messy, but we have to protect it. We have to constantly fight for freedoms. And there is no one that has fought for freedoms and rights more than our veterans. And in fact, in case you didn't know, one of the signers of the Constitution, who became our nation's United States Secretary of the Treasury, his name is the very county that you live in. This county was named after Alexander Hamilton, one of the most notable founders of our country. And I think he's gotten more famous lately since Hamilton was created. But he said, "Those who stand for nothing fail for everything." And I might say that the people that are here tonight, you stand for something. You stand for the men and women who are protecting our freedoms. Since colonists and patriots sprinted down the road in order to defeat and to win that revolution, from defeating the British to the Civil War, to world wars, to any wars that we are engaged in now, the men and women who have fought for this country deserve our thanks and deserve our praise. They have sacrificed. Their families have sacrificed. And so I want to thank all of the veterans and all of you who are families of veterans, your parents, your grandparents. And that's what these documents reflect. They're about securing freedom. As I've been able to travel the world on occasion in this incredible role as your representative, countries look to us. They look to our government. They look to our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. As we see what is happening in Hong Kong right now, those young people are waving American flags. They are singing our Spangled Banner. They love our freedom and democracy. And I just want to thank the founders that have brought us the incredible charters of freedom. I want to thank all of the people of this community because you are leaving a legacy for this community for generations to come. Congratulations to Noblesville. God bless Noblesville, Hamilton County, and most importantly, God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Let's hear it one more time for Congresswoman Brooks. What great words. All right, now please join me in welcoming Vance and Mary Jo Patterson, founders of Foundation Forward, and their vision and mission to get one of these monuments in every county in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vance Patterson. Get this mic up.
I am so proud of you all for being here this evening. My question is, are you ready to be a part of history? Because we're going to dedicate your charters of freedom, and this setting is going to be here for hundreds of years, and your future generations are going to know you were here for them. My name is Vance Patterson. I'm from Burke County, North Carolina. That's in the western part, not too far from Asheville. I'm the father of four, married 45 years to my wife, Mary Jo. I'm a businessman. I have a company that makes industrial fans. We actually make things out of metal, ship them across the country and around the world. I am an American manufacturer. I'm going to tell you a little about the inspiration behind Foundation Forward. Then I'm going to tell you a little about your setting here, and then I'm going to give you a challenge. 8 years ago, Mary Jo and I were up in Washington, D.C., and we decided to go to the National Archives because we'd never seen the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution before. We found ourselves wandering down these hallways, looking at different displays, and then it opened up into this large room. We walked through these big bronze gates into this rotunda, and there were the founding documents on the other side. They're in chronological order. The Declaration of Independence on the left, 4 pages of the Constitution in the middle, and the Bill of Rights on the right. Now this is when we learned that these are known as the Charters of Freedom. One of the things I liked, once you got in the rotunda, was there were no lines. You just wander around looking at different displays, and when you get a chance, you step up and look at the founding documents. And I will never forget the first time I saw the Declaration of Independence. Something our founding fathers had actually penned. And then I saw their signatures. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Rutledge, Wilson, and the others. I just got goosebumps. And then when we got a chance to move over and see the first page of the U.S. Constitution, and those 3 words, "We the people," I actually got a lump in my throat. I looked over and Mary Jo was wiping tears out of her eyes. It was really an emotional experience for us. A year later, back in Burke County, I got to thinking about this experience. And a thought came to me, what if I could duplicate that experience and bring it back to the citizens of Burke County? So I went inside and I told Mary Jo about it, and she liked the idea. So we started working on a project. And the scope of the project was to design and build a replica of the Charters of Freedom as exhibited in the National Archives. We wanted to put that in a central location in Burke County. It had to have high visibility, easy access for school children and veterans. It took 2 years to get this done, even though it was a gift from Mary Jo and I to the county. One of the problems we ran into, and there were a number of them, but probably the biggest problem we ran into is there are no drawings available for what's on display up there. No measurements, no dimensions, no nothing. And we'd only seen these documents once. So after we got a late night approval from a joint session of the Burke County Commissioners and Morganton City Council, the next morning Mary Jo and I got up, got in the car, drove back up to Washington, walked into that rotunda, and now they won't let you take out a tape measure and start measuring a national treasure. But we had a plan. She went one way and I went another. And I stepped up in front of the Constitution and I did this. And I was standing in the middle. Well, meanwhile, Mary Jo was actually walking up to the setting, turning around and facing the audience, and marking on her body the different elevations. And then we left before anybody started asking us questions. So while your setting here may not be exactly what's up in Washington, keep in mind it's based on 2 paces of a short guy and 3 marks on my wife's body. We do have our ways. Well, on July 2nd, 2014, we dedicated the first Charters of Freedom setting outside of Washington, D.C. on the old Burke Courthouse Green in downtown Morganton, North Carolina. This process we enjoyed so much and the gift was so well received, we decided to gift another one to Cherokee County, to the town of Murphy, which is as far west as you can go. We dedicated that on September 17th, 2014. We did a third one, downtown Asheville in Buncombe County. Now during this time, we decided to set up a 501c3 because we knew we were going to be doing more. We set up a foundation called Foundation Forward. There are 3 main aspects of Foundation Forward. Number 1 is education. We wanted to provide a good foundation for students to learn about American history that was surrounding the founding of our country, and a good foundation in government and civics to know how government is supposed to work. Second, we wanted to provide access. Not everybody can get up to Washington, D.C. It took Mary Jo and I over 60 years to get up there the first time. And third is about community. We want to provide this access in a community so that you all have a place to gather where you can celebrate, you can honor, and you can reflect right here in downtown Noblesville. To date, we have dedicated and gifted 24 Charters of Freedom settings across the country. In North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Nebraska, South Dakota, and as far west as Carson City, Nevada. Yours is the 25th, and it's the third here in Indiana. That is kind of special to me because I grew up in Greentown. So I like coming back here and doing these dedications. And we've got at least 2 more to do this year. Now let me tell you a little about your setting here. This is not a tip-over monument. One of the things I learned growing up as I aged is that if you want a monument or a setting to last, you put more underground than above ground. Your foundation here goes down 3.5 feet. It is solid, reinforced poured concrete. It then comes up into a solid, reinforced poured concrete core. Just the centerpiece here, the core and the foundation, weighs over 38,000 pounds, over 19 tons. The fascia on it is then covered with 4 inches of brick and mortar. We have 6 documents displayed. Each one is life-size, which means the Declaration of Independence is a little bit larger than the others. Each one is on 1/4-inch etched bronze and weighs over 60 pounds. Now when you come up here and look at this, you're going to notice the Bill of Rights, there aren't 10 listings there. There is no historic document known as the Bill of Rights. What's on display in the National Archives and here are the first proposed 12 amendments signed by John Adams. The first 2 were not approved at the time, only the last 10, and those 10 are your Bill of Rights. There's an emblem on the front, identical to the one on the front of the podium here, which is very special. We commissioned some artists to design this. The eagle represents the Declaration of Independence. Proud, bold, defiant. The 7 stars above the eagle represent the 7 articles of the U.S. Constitution. And the 10 stars under the eagle represent the first 10 amendments, which are your Bill of Rights. Now, people ask us why we're doing this. And we tell them, yes, it's very expensive, but it's more important than money. We believe this gives us a direct link to our founding fathers by helping to preserve what it is they gave this country, a government to serve and protect we the people. From the beginning, this has been about education. We learned that we had 2 founding fathers who were very big on education. Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States, actually penned most of the Declaration of Independence, and Benjamin Franklin. He was an author, a musician, he was a writer, a publisher, he was an inventor, a scientist, and truly a sage. He is the one they would go to when they got stuck on a problem for his wisdom. Well, these 2 believed that in order to have a free and independent country, you must understand how government works, that you cannot control what you do not understand. You wouldn't believe how many people come up to us when we're building this and say, that's it? Just 4 pages to the Constitution? And we say, that's it. All of our laws and government are based on those 4 pages. You wouldn't believe how many people don't know that the first 10 amendments are your Bill of Rights. I guarantee there are people who are learning that tonight. You see? Education. Thomas Jefferson in 1789 said, whenever a people mean to be their own governor, they must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives. And James Madison, a 5'4" virtual rock star of his era, wrote in 1822, a people who mean to be their own governors A people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives. Jefferson said, whenever a people are well informed, they can be trusted with their own government. Now, imagine, if you will, school teachers bringing their 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classes down here to your Charters of Freedom setting. While they're here on these annual field trips, they'll learn a little about our founding fathers, a little about the founding documents, the history surrounding the documents. They can learn about government, state, local, and federal government, and local heroes. This is happening in communities all across the country now. The students love these field trips. You remember the field trips you took when you were in school. They were life experiences. Imagine how these will stick with them throughout their lives. And this is not just for the schools to do. This is for parents to bring your children down here, to create that life experience so they can pass that on to their future generations. Now, you may have noticed, I haven't been calling this a monument. The definition of a monument is a memorial to honor an event or a person. Well, this is not a memorial. This is an active, hands-on educational supplement for your school's curriculum. There are 3,142 counties, boroughs, parishes, independent cities, census zones, and the District of Columbia in the United States. Our goal as a foundation is to place Charters of Freedom settings in as many of those communities as possible over the next 10 years. Our hope is that our future generations will come from communities that have their own Charters of Freedom, that their children will no longer grow up talking about the Declaration, Constitution, and Bill of Rights in Washington, but they'll be talking about their Constitution and their Bill of Rights, the ones they grew up with right here in Hamilton County. Our founding fathers were challenged by the greatest force the world had ever known, by the British Empire. They protested, they revolted, they fought a rebellion, and they won our independence. All the while setting up a government that is still in effect today and duplicated by more than 60% of the other countries around the world. Mark Finnegan and Christie and Chris and Peter Kraft were challenged with bringing a Charters of Freedom here to Hamilton County. They met that challenge as we are dedicating it tonight. Your challenge is based on something that happened last year at Hanover College in Southern Indiana. Mary Jo and I had just finished dedicating a Charters of Freedom setting down there. And we were in the campus center and we were getting ready to leave, and I looked across the campus center. And there was a guy named Ron Wells. Ron was facilities and maintenance engineer, African American, that had helped me a lot during the dedication. And I said, I need to go thank this guy for his help. So I walked over and I'm shaking Ron's hand and I said, thanks for all you did. And he said, Mr. Patterson, thank you for bringing this gift to our community. And I said what I normally say, you're welcome, and please make sure people use it after we're gone. And he said, Mr. Patterson, I've already done that. I took my son over last night and we had the talk. And I said, Ron, that means more to me than anything anybody has ever said. So your challenge is to bring your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, or other family member down here to your Charters of Freedom and have the talk like Ron Wells did. You tell them about their freedoms and their rights. And those freedoms and rights give them the power to accomplish what they want in life, to achieve their goals, and to pursue their passions. If you do that, then as far as we're concerned, and Foundation Forward, and our portion of this gift, we'll call it even. Thank you. And now will Mayor Ditzler please come forward. used to doing these dedications at night. It's usually about 95 degrees, and I can see everything perfectly. The Charters of Freedom setting located at Federal Hill Commons in Noblesville, Indiana, is hereby gifted from Vance and Mary Jo Patterson of Burke County, North Carolina, to the children, veterans, and citizens of Hamilton County, Noblesville, Indiana. All rights, responsibilities, and care for this setting, displaying the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, are hereby transferred to Hamilton County this day, September 28, 2019.
Don't go away, Mr. Patterson. Thank you for your generosity, for your patriotism, and for your gift to the city of Noblesville. The city has a lot of givers here, and we've demonstrated that by being able to accomplish that through the leadership of Don Myers. But again, we thank you for the opportunity, and we will carry this forward and accept your challenge to bring our kids, grandkids, and anyone else here to learn about what our country is about. Thank you.
All right, we've got just two more short things to do here. There's a time capsule in the back of the center setting, and in that time capsule, we're going to go letters, memorabilia from now. Letters will be from veterans, from law enforcement, from the school administration, some from our foundation, and other people in the community. We're going to seal that up. Also going in there will be the sign-up sheet over here. Be sure and sign your name over on this sign-up sheet, so it'll go in the time capsule. That time capsule will then be sealed. Won't be opened until September 17, 2087. That's the 300th anniversary of the U.S. Constitution. All time capsules in the United States will be opened the same day, so it should be pretty interesting. And keep in mind, we are giving the combination to that safe to Mayor Dixler. So if there's any problem opening that safe in 2087, you know who had it last. All right, we're going to do a cannon salute. If all my cannoneers will show up over here with Perry. And if my drummer will come up. My drummer this evening is Karen Wentz. When we first did our dedication, first one, I knew I wanted to do a cannon salute, but I didn't know how many times to fire the cannon. I knew 21 was too many and not proper, so I did some research, again, about history now, and learned that the cannon salute started back in the 1600s. When a ship would be coming into port, the port wouldn't know whether the ship was dangerous or not, so the ship would turn its guns to sea and discharge 7 rounds. Now, 2 things happen when you discharge a weapon. 1, it weakens your position, and 2, it shows respect for the other side. Well, the port, having more cannon and more powder, would answer 7 in kind, or 3 in kind, and that's where you get your 21-gun salute. Well, I knew, again, that wasn't proper. Then I remembered that I've done business up in Scotland, and the Scottish tell me the story how they liked the way the British marked the time of day at noon. They would fire 12 rounds, and the ship's captains would know that it was 12 o'clock, and the store owners could set their clocks. Well, being Scottish, and that is my heritage, they reasoned, why fire 12 rounds at noon when they could wait 1 hour and save 11 rounds? So every day at noon, there's a howitzer up on the old castle that fires 1 round at 1 o'clock in the day. So I knew my number was somewhere between 1 and 21. And I decided on 7, partly because of history and also because we have 7 articles in the U.S. Constitution. So we will fire 1 round for each article of the Constitution. Are my cannoneers ready? We need to make sure they are ready. We're shooting 10 gauge blanks over there, so it needs to be right. Candidates ready. Drum roll, please. Article 1 defines the legislative branch, composed of the House of Representatives and the Senate. It defines their powers and responsibilities. Article 2 sets up the executive branch, the qualifications for president and vice president, their powers, responsibility, and means of removal from office. Article 3 sets up the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, and the lower court system. It defines the right of trial by jury and defines treason. Article 4 gives the states the right to make and carry out their own laws, so long as these laws do not conflict with the United States Constitution. Article 5 outlines the process of amending the United States Constitution. Article 6 sets the status of the United States Constitution as the supreme law of the land, to which all leaders, including the legislative, executive, and judicial, must be loyal. Article 7 addresses the ratification and declares that the United States Constitution should take effect if 9 out of 13 states ratify. Children, veterans, and citizens of Hamilton County, I give you your charters of freedom.
All right, at this time, we'd like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Patterson for your amazing gift to our city, to our county, to our community, and to all those who enjoy this wonderful park. Congratulations for becoming the third location of 92 counties in Indiana for the Charters of Freedom Monument. Now, to close out, we'd like to welcome former Noblesville High School government teacher Bruce Hitchcock with final comments. Mr. Hitchcock.
Oh, that's better. Good evening. We hold these truths, and we, the people. What beautiful words to open the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. What a meaningful and eventful evening. Man, Aaron.
Just died.
How about that? What an eventful and meaningful evening for our community. And great appreciation to all of those involved in this program this evening and to this exemplary project. For almost 30 years, I had the privilege and good fortune to accompany dozens of high school students, groups rather, involving hundreds of Noblesville High School students to Washington, D.C. to participate in truly behind-the-scenes experiences. What those students from Noblesville, Indiana experienced were ultimately made possible by what the founders created and set in motion through these charters of freedom. And to those who have preceded us and those who today continue to strive to preserve, to protect, defend, apply, and expand upon those values and goals created by these documents. President Lincoln once referred to the Declaration of Independence as an apple of gold, and the Constitution of the United States as the silver-lined protector of that apple of gold. Words are important. Recalling a story about John Adams, who helped draft the Constitution, on one of his visits to Philadelphia, he attended a religious service not of his faith. Later, he wrote to his wife Abigail that the service was awful. Well, in hearing that, we get an impression of what he thought of the service. But in Adams' day, awful often meant full of awe. He did not hate the service. He was impressed by it. The words of these documents are also extremely important and not only need to be listened to, but read. For example, we've all heard the words from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But if we read the document, we might pay more attention to the word among. Among these rights, the Declaration states that there are rights in addition to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration actually states also, and we should not ever forget the commitment made by those who signed the document and to those who support and defend the Constitution and the Declaration today. The Declaration ends, and for the support of this Declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Before us, displayed in this beautiful format, are the words of the Charters of Freedom. Let us all continue to read and reread those words. And in closing, and I'm not sure who to cite as the original author of this, but it is an often repeated statement made by some of our leaders such as Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, and Dwight Eisenhower. The statement reads, "America is not good because America is great. America is good. America is great because it is good." Thank you very much and enjoy the evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hitchcock. At this point in time, I would ask everybody to be with us as we retire the colors. And after that, we're going to get on with this show.
Oh,